Welcome, everybody. How you feeling? Welcome to another episode of Birds Deep. Godfrey added a green screen. Now he's invisible, so we can't really
Yeah,
see.
I'm gonna get rid of that. Listen, we got some growing to do. In a sense where like we move, we dodge, we dive. So, welcome to Birds Deep, everyone. Though it is the official launch of preseason. I guess the Hall of Fame game was that, but that's like the most exhibition games. But I'm the Godfrey, THEEGODFREY, here to get you hyped up for this Eagles preseason game. And next to me, depending on how you're looking at the screen, I have my man, Mean Gene. Tell him who you are, Gene.
Mean, woo, Gene. How you feeling tonight, Godfrey?
Feeling good. We got lots. Football's around the corner. Fantasy football drafts are being planned. Picks are being made. Trades are being made. Running backs are still out there on the free agent market. Um, Controversy around some struggles Jalen Hurts has had. Stuff that we're going to get in on the show today. And I believe Jalen Hurts was revealed. His number was revealed today in the top 100, was it not?
Number
Or
three.
he went higher than we thought.
Yes, he did.
I had him at 4. Where'd you have him? 5?
I had him 5.
3. Now, Travis Kelsey went lower than I thought he was going to go, but I mean, it made sense based off your reasoning last week. So,
I mean, talk about the reasoning last night. Reasoning this week, it's tight end is just not as valuable position. I'm just giving you my. It might be valuable for fantasy football, but it's not as valuable in the NFL.
what's funny you say that because in fantasy football, it is not valuable. The only person that is valuable to have on your roster as a tight end in fantasy football is Travis Kelsey. So that's kind of why I it's the same reasoning we both have. He is it as far as that goes. That's a whole nother show, I guess, maybe one day fantasy football. But outside of Travis Kelsey, I mean, if I was running a fantasy football league, I would eliminate the tight end position, just make it flex. I'm serious. I mean, it's like we're just, I would eliminate kicker and defense, individual defensive player, because I don't like chance. And if you think that you're a good fantasy football player because you can stream a defense, my ass. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation, whole different type of show.
You're
So
opening a different bag of worms here, Godfrey.
I am.
Opening worms.
It is that season, though. It is fantasy football season.
Speaking of fantasy football, we got more things to get into, man. We got shows on top of shows that are going to be coming out for Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, the fantasy show. We got a new the sideline to start soon. I can't wait. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, whoever CR Media is, I agree with you. Says that's why my main fantasy football league, we eliminated the tight end position.
Bro, it's funny because CR Media is Chase, and he's a Chiefs fan. So you would think Chiefs fan. I guess in that respect, they should eliminate the tight end because everybody might be taking Travis Kelsey at 1. Like, oh yeah, let's go Travis Kelsey at the 1 position. But no, yeah, I understand. I follow completely.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's football. Anything football is positive. But it is, I mean, this is kind of like the prelude, or I guess the preceding to like the initial preseason game, kind of like after the Thursday night game. So this is like the first wave of games. Things to watch for. I know we got our agenda list, right? As far as the Eagles go, should we jump right into the Jalen Hurts struggles at practice?
I mean, let's do that. I think that, it's really funny because last year, a lot of people made fun of the Elliott Shore Parks when he was scripting Jalen Hurts 10 for 12 today with 3 touchdowns. And now it's becoming a bigger thing. Like, we made fun of it last year because it was practice. And now this year, they're making too big of an issue of it, in my personal opinion. He had a couple bad days of practice, and now the whole town's going crazy. They're behind the Elliott Shore Parks, Jalen Hurts practice numbers. I just don't know if we could put those numbers in the Hall of Fame with Jalen Hurts. He was threw for 4,000 yards and 845 for 1,000. I just, can you put that in? Is that something that you can do? Can you put them in the Hall of Fame numbers? Because practice numbers, do they count?
No. That's like counting your putts on the putting green before you get on the golf course. Or
my man Cool McCain, look at his dedication. Eagles Elite Podcast. Cool McCain joining us. Third member of Birds Deep. He's at soccer practice and still hopping on. This is how great this man is.
With the Eagles
The
seatbelt
yeah.
holder. Okay. The swag game.
Are we making too much of the Jalen Hurts at practice conversations? Missing throws at practice.
I think we are. His worst day was day 8, right? A lot of the ones that he's missed have been contested plays or just, not on the right page with different receivers because it's something that you have to get used to, right? You got some different receivers and you got people playing different roles. So I think a lot of people are over-sensationalizing it right now. Now, once we get into the preseason, early games, if this is happening, then that's when it becomes a concern. But I think right now we're good.
I completely agree with you. I think that if I'm just being honest, right, I think that the Philadelphia Eagles make too much of their practices. It all matters when you hop on the field. But we do have a preseason game to talk about this Saturday. This Saturday, what are you looking for? I know a lot of starters won't play, judging by Nick Sirianni, but what are you looking for this Saturday? What players are you looking for to stand out? Who are you looking for to have a good preseason?
Well, go ahead. Cool. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead, Godfrey.
No, I'm researching. You got it.
All right. So for me, I'm looking at the safeties, right? Even our starting safeties and all the safety groups, because I feel like there's a position we still could add, another piece to that can improve. I think linebacker, I feel more comfortable now. We're not going to see our starters, obviously, because Jacoby Dean had a minor injury to his ankle, so he's not going to play. So that's why we're seeing, Davion Taylor and some of the other guys getting reps there above him, and even Miles Jacks because of the minor injury. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I want to see what happens with the wide receiver group. I need to see, besides A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, what do we have at wide receiver? Right? There's a lot of names there, but who's going to actually stick on the team? Who's going to be a solid guy? Who's going to help us be better? And then, of course, I want to see our backup defensive line as well. We know our starters are, for better or for worse, our starters are pretty much who they are at this point. But who's going to be their backups? Who's going to be the guys in that rotation to slide in when someone gets hurt, someone gets injured, or you just need to rotate out? Those are the guys I want to see. So I'm really interested in seeing that second group and what they do throughout the game, because I think the starters are going to play at most maybe two series. So we'll get a lot of like the second team, the third team, and then the guys that are struggling to make the team. So curious as to the depth pieces. I'm pretty solid at starter except for the third wide receiver. Obviously, I think the guard situation has kind of situated itself. Steen looks like he's not going to be the starter, at least so far, over there. So we'll see how that works out long term as well. But those are the things that really had me like, what are we going to see? What do I need to feel comfortable about? Is everybody besides the starters and that third wide receiver?
Couple points I want to address that you talked about. Number one, Davion Taylor got cut, so he's gone. The Eagles got.
You're right. I didn't mean to say Davion Taylor.
That's fine. Number two, I think Jacoby Dean is actually going to start this Saturday. He was back as a full participant today at practice. He was, Wednesday he was a limited participant. Today he was back as a full participant. I think he starts Saturday, and I think he needs to start Saturday. I think he needs that quarterback of the defense reps in the preseason. I don't care. We're talking about injuries. Injuries are injuries. We have depth at the linebacker position. I think Jacoby Dean needs to play, and he needs to get his feet under before week 1. Because I promise you this, he's not a rookie, but Bill Belichick is going to look for him because this is his first year starting. We're talking about week 1. So I really am looking forward to Jacoby Dean. I also want to see the offensive line depth chart. Like I want to see, I'll find it interesting. I don't expect Lane or Kelsey to play much, but I do want to see what they do with Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, if they have him slotted at center or if they play him some right guard so they can get him some prep at right guard. I want to see how Jordan Mailata looks this year. I've openly told everyone that would listen, I really, truly do believe that Jordan Mailata takes a huge leap forward again this year to becoming a top 5, top 7 left tackle in football. So, Godfrey, what is something that you look forward to in this preseason?
want to look at receivers. And when I mean receivers, I don't obviously mean AJ Brown and Devontae Smith or even Dallas Goedert, because we all know where they stand, what we expect from them, and we expect Devontae Smith, I believe, to even have a better year than last year, and AJ Brown to have a similar year to last year would be really good. But when I look at wide receiver, there's still a third guy that needs a presence. And last week I neglected to bring it up. And Quez Watkins saying he wanted to be dominant. Gene, correct me if I'm wrong here. I might be misquoting him. I'm paraphrasing what Quez said, but some people have called him out. There's been a few trade rumors by people, unsubstantiated by people on the net talking about it. And my thing is I like to always go back in history and see what coaches say and what they do. And, when they talk about their players. And I just always think it's interesting because one thing that came to mind was I remember June 22nd of last year. I heard people out of Eagles camp, and I think it was Nick Sirianni, talking about he could be one of the best slot receivers in the league. Now, we are fast forwarding to 2023. Would there have been any indication that he has taken that leap forward? I would say he took a small leap forward, but not that type of leap. And I really think that's a hole in the Eagles offense. I think they need a third receiver. And there's some guys that could step up. I mean, so I'll be looking for Joseph Nagata. I think I might be butchering the crap out of his name. Give me a break there if I am. Sorry, guys. But there's some Eagles preseason love out here.
It's like Elodie Nada. It's the same thing. It's Joseph Nada.
Joseph Nada. Okay, so
the G is there.
The G is there. All right, I chip the G. So he's been making a lot of plays in camp. People have been talking about him. So I'm watching out for him because when you're looking at these first couple preseason games, or I should say the first one, the second one now is the one where they're gonna have some of the starters, right? Because it used to be the third one, right, Gene? Correct me.
I don't think you look at the Eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't really play people any preseason game. Like the second preseason game, they play them a quarter. So you might see a quarter, but I don't think you see them in the first or third. And I think you see them very limited in the second, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah. This guy's 6'3", 217 pounds. And they could use another big body receiver, in my opinion, on the roster. And of course, my guy, Deion Kane, I don't think he's been cut. Was looking out there for that, but the depth charts are always a little murky during the preseason. They don't really do a good job. Some of the teams keeping up with that because the doors swinging open and closed a bunch. So I'm really looking at that. There's a couple guys on defense that reporting is that Mekhi Gardner has been playing really well. He's playing his way into a competition for a roster spot. He's an undrafted free rookie, and he's at cornerback number 43. I'm telling you guys the number so you know who to look for out there. Because these numbers are all over the place, especially when they're unknowns. Joseph Nada is 86, and Deion Kane would be number 39, I believe. So that would, it's easier to spot that in preseason. I'm trying to help the listeners out here. And the other thing is, I'm hearing a little chatter. I know it's just the internet and they're bored, and we need some content during the preseason about Kenneth Gainwell being a number one running back. They don't really mean that, but they're just playing on words there. I think he's going to be the number one running back, I guess, in the preseason game. Correct me, right, Gene? Is that what it is pretty much?
I think Gainwell starting the preseason game, but they haven't listed any of that out. So I don't know who's starting the game. I'm just interested to see how they work in the running backs. The Quez Watkins comments that you asked me about earlier, I looked them up. He said a lot of different things. One of the things he said, I'm gonna make every fan eat their effing words. He also said, I'm going to be elite, not just good. That's the comment I think you're referring to. I'm going to be elite. There's a lot that listen, I love his confidence. Another thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about the Eagles and what I'm looking for this preseason is Nolan Smith was getting first-team reps the other day. He is literally, like, people love him around camp. Sean Desai loves him. You got to understand, we have a brand-new defensive coordinator that has no ties to current players. So I actually like that. I love when you don't have a tie to a player when you come in because you don't have to have a loyalty to them. If Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter comes in and kicks butt, there doesn't have to be a loyalty to him. If Jordan Davis is out playing Fletcher Cox, there doesn't have to be a loyalty to them. So I think you'll see a lot more Hassan Reddick lined up in the 4-3 D end than the outside linebacker on passing downs. And I think you'll see Nolan Smith lined up as the outside linebacker in the 4-3, maybe on the same side. Could you imagine what that would do if you had Hassan Reddick as the edge rusher in the 4-3 with Nolan Smith being the outside linebacker? Who do you choose to try to defend there? They both run like years. Seriously.
It's awful. Awful for the defense. Nada was calling him not Nada. Jordan Mailata was calling him Mini Reddick.
That's why they drafted him. He's a very similar player. He runs a 4.39. He runs faster than most wide receivers.
Yeah, that's nuts. And that's he's gonna be all over the field. I mean, I don't know how him and Reddick, I mean, that's gonna be crazy. If
the last this is not a joke, right? The last player that ran under a 4.40 that on defense that was drafted that was not a secondary player was Micah Parsons. I'm not saying Nolan Smith's going to be Michael Parsons. However, that was the last 4.3 player drafted in the first round on the defense.
By the way, if I was responding to Quez Watkins' comment and I was the coach, I'd be like, listen, Chief, don't be talking that mess until I could see you box out someone in an LA Fitness pickup basketball game, okay? Because that's he when I see him play football, it reminds me of someone that has a weak box out in basketball. Like, he can't command his area of the field with his presence, and you don't necessarily have to be big. He just doesn't have that in his game. That's his problem. How many times do we see him get the ball ripped from him in key moments, or just not make a catch that it was totally catchable?
He definitely cannot make contested catches. That's where
I mean, and we need I feel like if you ask me, with all the talent on the Eagles, and if you're looking at the offense with all the signings they made, I think that third receiver is the hole, and I'm hoping someone steps up in camp here that could fill that, because they need to outplay Quez Watkins, and I just think Quez is a little full of himself. You know, there's confidence is good, but you also got to be humble too, so you know what you got to work on.
So,
100%. Cool.
I wanted to say real quick. So the reason I said I don't want to see Dean play tonight is I don't want him to re-aggravate. Ankles, they're easy to re-aggravate. So I prefer him not play tonight. But I'd like to see him in the second and the third preseason games playing half. So I would like to see him get a lot of reps, which I agree needs. But in the second and third preseason games, let's err on the side of caution with a guy that we expect to do a lot for us. If you have another ankle injury, they're easy to happen back to back, and we don't need that.
That's fair. So since you brought it up, let's talk about it. I have the Eagles depth chart in front of me. Already listed as the backup linebackers on the depth chart. Didn't take long. Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham both signed for the same contract this week. Let's talk about the signings. Miles Jack listed as the backup middle linebacker behind Kobe Dean. I look at him as more of a 4-3 edge or a 4-3 will, like a weak outside linebacker, weak inside linebacker, I mean. But he's listed as the backup for Kobe Dean at the middle linebacker position. Should we as Eagles fans start thinking that there's a competition at the linebacker position?
No, I don't think we should, because I think what we have is we realize we've got young guys that are going to probably be our starters. We've got young guys behind them, whereas the veteran presence is at the position. Let's go get some veteran presence, to be there in those positions. And that's why those guys were brought in. And it makes sense for them to be backups, because we wouldn't have brought them in. I feel like if we didn't think they'd at least be better backups than what we so far have seen in camp. So I feel like it was a good idea to bring them in, because it adds those veterans there. And I'm not surprised that they're already second on the depth chart, because I feel like that's why they were brought in, to be there.
Godfrey, what do you think? Do you think that we can see a competition at the linebacker position?
Well, I mean, listen, has Nakobe Dean been anointed as the guy? Right?
Yeah, I mean, they gave him the helmet.
Okay, so his only obstacle really, is himself, right? And what I mean by that is he's got to stay healthy. That was a little bit of a knock of him coming out of college. He had he's a little banged up, and that's normal. I think they brought in some depth pieces, kind of like a Joseph Linval and Dominic Sue type of situation, bringing in these two depth piece guys. And, Jordan Davis got injured, so that's part of the reason they did that last year. But I don't think there's really a competition. I think they're hedging their bets. That's what I think they're doing, and which they should do. I mean, ideally, you want him to hit the ground running, Nakobe Dean, and, everybody talks about his football IQ, and we want to see him put it together on the field. I want to see him get some more reps. John Gannon didn't really give him enough play last year to really see, for whatever reason that was. But yeah, I don't really think there's a competition. I don't think it's there yet, but I do think the Eagles are hedging their bets. I mean, you got those guys cheap, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, what's the lose? What's the downside?
I mean, the downside is, you start looking over your shoulder. That's all. I get what you're saying. They signed them both to 1-year deals. I just don't want him to have to look over his shoulder. I want the position to be given. I think he needs to grow in the position. 1-year deal worth $2.5 million, both of them, same deal.
I guess it depends how he's wired.
Couch, right? Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how he's wired. I mean, listen, I don't know. I think Nakobe Dean is a pretty confident dude, and I'm a pretty intelligent guy, even outside of football, right? Like he's an intelligent person in general. I don't think he doesn't take me as the type of guy to shrink back from competition. I think it's a healthy thing for him. The Joe Montana, Steve Young theory, if you will.
Okay. It's getting a lot of audio feedback. Cool. I'm gonna pop you off because the audio is so loud. Sorry about that. The audio is super loud, and
we'll pop back in if he gets parked.
Yeah. So if he gets parked, it's fine. It's just it's so loud in the background. But all right. So let's get back to Miles Jack, Zach Cunningham. I think what they're doing right now is they're shoring up their linebacker room like they did last year. It's just I want them to be clear, and I think they tried doing this when they signed the contracts with Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham. I think they tried to say in the media that we have not lost any faith in Nakobe Dean. We have not lost any faith in what we're doing with him.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like, I mean, Zach Cunningham's not a bad player, but he's not like top tier, right? I mean, so I don't really think it should, next gen stats say a lot of nice things about him, but he's also, I'm reading here, this is from A to Z Sports. He's ranked first among linebackers in run to stop win ratio every season from 2017 to 2021. But what happened last year. And Miles Jack has a name too, but I think it was a good move by Howie. I mean, if it's not going to cost you a lot, football is a rough sport. There's a lot of injuries. And I mean, it'd be fair to say, like, Nakobe Dean's had a few injuries here or there. So, maybe they're going to look at a rotation style, and it's a process too. I mean, he's a younger guy, so there's going to be some hiccups, right? And he's got two guys around him that have a veteran presence that can help him get along the way. I mean, if they sign these guys to 3-year deals, even a 2-year deal, I'd be more concerned about it. But these are 1-year stopgap deals.
I'm so interested to see how the Philadelphia Eagles complete their depth chart as a whole. Some depth charts have DeAndre Swift as the number 1 running back, some Kenneth Gainwell. But the one that really stands out to me is Quez Watkins on every depth chart is listed as your starting slot receiver.
I think that's, I like that the Eagles want to kind of keep their homegrown players, so to speak, but this isn't baseball, man. And I just haven't, I feel like he's been more involved in offense because of volume, not because of need to get him in there because he's a playmaker. And Zach Pascal, I guess, was his best competition last year. And I know you can't have an all-star or all-pro at every position, but I just need he just doesn't seem to, like, Slim Reaper isn't like a physically opposing A.J. Brown type of body frame, but he knows how to run routes. He knows how to get in and out of contact. He knows how to do those things and use his body effectively. And Quez Watkins hasn't really shown that ability. So he's either going to add some weight or, watch some more Slim Reaper tape. I mean, I think that's a mistake by the Eagles. I really do. I think, maybe they're looking at DeAndre Swift as their really true third receiver on the team, or, maybe Dallas Goedert. I know Dallas Goedert's got a better season than Quez Watkins as long as he's healthy. And DeAndre Swift, I would dare say, is going to have more receiving yards and receptions than Quez Watkins. There's no doubt about that in my mind. So maybe they really look at, Swift as more of a, running back and third, fourth quasi wide receiver in certain sets. I mean, I think that's completely plausible.
Cool. Welcome back. What's popping? Sorry, the feedback was super loud. I just had to. I know you're driving. I know you're at the daughter's
Well, I
practice.
turned it down. I turned the volume down, so I was just trying to make sure y'all could hear me. But I turned it down some, so hopefully that'll help as well.
Perfect. Clear as day now, so that's great. So as far as the Eagles' wide receiver weapon, Quez Watkins being listed as the number 3. What are your thoughts there on that? Do you think that he solidified that? Do you think he deserves that? Do you think he actually has a step-up year? Or do you think it's still considered a hole in the field? Because you mentioned earlier when you were talking about the depth chart and looking at the safeties, and I'm telling you right now, I will almost bet my bottom dollar that Reed Blankenship will not be starting on that team by week 3. That's Sidney Brown's job to win, and I think Sean Desai is already deciding to start Sidney Brown over Reed Blankenship. I believe it.
Or maybe it's over Morrow.
It could be.
Yeah. I think Sidney Brown will get a starting job, but I think it's going to be Morrow's job if we don't make another move. Morrow, from all the reports I've read and everything I've seen, he looks okay, but he hasn't stood out, right? He's been okay. He's been serviceable. He's been a guy that, is fine, but he hasn't stood out at all. So you got a guy.
Are you talking about Nicholas Morrow?
Yes.
I think they're going to start him at linebacker. I think that's where he's going to end up starting. I'm talking about
because they're talking about doing a different sets, like 3 safeties and some different things. Like they have these different integrations that they're talking about doing. So yeah, but he may just start opposite, of Reed Blankenship, because from everything I've heard, they love Reed Blankenship so far. But also, I did look on our lads last night. I haven't been able to look today, but last night that was the only place I saw that did not have they had Zacchaeus as a starter and not Watkins, but everywhere else I looked did have Watkins as a starter. I don't know what Watkins has done, honestly, to be the starter. Again.
Oh, I'm going Zacchaeus all day long over Watkins. I totally forgot about him. I want to see. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot him. I'm taking him over Watkins last year. I don't care.
I just don't understand why Watkins is there, because, like I said, it has to be, like you were saying, loyalty guys that we brought in and we drafted, because the play should dictate who starts, right? And I just haven't seen regular season Quez Watkins, because he's had great camps before, right? Oh, Quez Watkins looks great in camp. But again, like Gene said earlier, you don't high point the ball. You don't fight for the ball. Those things are not going to change because you look good in preseason. Those things are still going to happen in the regular season. So my concern is we go only off of camp, being fooled for a third or fourth time with Quez Watkins. He gets in the regular season and he's still the same guy.
I mean, he's a 5th round draft pick.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
He's a 5th round draft pick.
You have other guys now. It's not like you're in a situation where you don't have other guys in there. I feel like it's a lot of home loyalty to a guy who has made plays at times, and I'm not attempting to say he's just terrible, but there are things that are concerns that hurt us at times last year that we need to address. So I think we need to really get a guy in there, whether it's Zacchaeus, whether it's one of the other guys on the roster, maybe if somebody ends up getting cut, becomes available, we need a solid, dependable third wide receiver, and I just don't believe that's Mr. Call himself Elite Quez Watkins.
Listen, let's call it what it is. He's talking that smack because his ass cheeks are chapped because they brought in Zacchaeus, they're bringing other guys in camp, and he's feeling the footsteps behind him that are creeping up on him. He knows his time is limited. So it's shit or get off the pot time for Quez Watkins, in my opinion. I
think I'm the only person that thinks Quez Watkins is a breakout year this year.
You might listen. If you do, I'll be glad to say I was wrong, but I just don't see it.
I think he's perfect for the offense if, and I mean this, a big if. I think he's perfect for the offense if used right. Stretch balls down the field. I think that he's great for the slot. I think that you need to get him on drags. If he's running anything besides a drag or a go, I don't want him on the field. Right. I want to drag across the field and let him run, or I want to go route and let him run by safety and take a safety with you, right? Open up the middle of the field for Goddard, for A.J. Brown, for Devontae Smith. I think Quez can catch 2 balls for 74 yards in a game and be super helpful for you. X plays, big plays that change the tide of the game. I don't think he's going to catch a ton of balls this year. I think he'll have 2 to 3 catches per game, and I think one of them will be a big play that breaks a game open. And I think if you do that, he's worth it at your slot receiver. Guys, there's a lot of balls that go around the field, right? So you have A.J. Brown, who's going to get his targets, Devontae Smith, who's going to get his targets, Dallas Goedert. Now you have a formidable running back out of the backfield in DeAndre Swift, who's going to get his targets. So the targets aren't going to be heavy for Quez Watkins, but he's there to stretch the field. Where I have an issue isn't 100% on Quez. It's on coaching. He should not be running hook routes. He should not be running comebacks. He should not be running in routes. He should not be running out routes. He gets bullied. He doesn't attack the football, and he gets bullied off the football. Now, what I can't see from him is this. Go back to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts drops a dime right in this guy's hands, and he just can't bring it in because arms were too weak. They got hit. The ball got dropped out. I can't see that, right? That's what I can't see.
Y'all going 4-13 in the chat. Yeah, you're smoking crack. There's no way the Eagles are going 4-13.
He's a 49ers fan. He's
the 49er whiners. Yeah, you guys might finish last in that division. I know it sounds crazy, but it's possible. No, I'm sorry. Not third to last.
Third, yeah. You can't be last because Arizona's.
Yeah, Arizona. Hard. I'm sorry. No, they'll second.
Finish worse than the Rams either. Stop it.
Yeah, they'll be second. Yeah. But listen, someone said something in the chat, and I want to address it. They said, what about Trey Sermon?
Okay.
Easy on that one. I've tweeted at Ruben Frank. We've talked. The knock on him, and I don't know if it's changed, is he does not have good vision.
He's not even on the Eagles depth chart.
He's not even on the depth chart. I just think how he picked him up. But I'm glad that 49ers fan is in the chat and bring it up because that is another mistake that the 49ers have made in the draft and has gone goal. So he's a third round pick. Just putting that out there.
He's 6th on the depth chart, tied with Kennedy Brooks.
Yeah. This guy, Kennedy Brooks, that's awful. So bad 49ers draft pick. So listen, Gene, I think you're right about Quez Watkins. I think you're dead on. I just think that the stuff that we have seen of fans is I want another receiver that can be the non-A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert option to be able to catch a ball over the middle in traffic and not get posted up or boxed up for the ball.
You need to catch a ball over the middle, though. Devontae Smith catches the ball over the middle. A.J. Brown catches the ball over the middle.
But you can't always go to them.
The ball over the middle. DeAndre Swift can catch the ball over the middle. Like, what do you need? You don't need everybody to catch the ball over the middle.
Yeah, but I want a big body guy.
The Philadelphia Eagles are obsessed with speed. Obsessed.
I get it.
So do you realize that they still have Devin Allen on their roster, right? And he's listed as like their number 5 wide receiver.
Yeah. But Devin Allen isn't going to be able to hold on to that ball in the Cowboys game that Quez got ripped from him. And those are the plays.
That's the coaching staff's fault for having him run a button hook.
I agree. But sometimes they got your best guys covered, and you got to have another guy that you could put out there. Like I don't know, like the a la Jason Avant type. Okay, yeah. Someone like that. All right. Not exactly the same physical profile and skill set, but
Devontae Smith up in the slot.
I'm okay with that too.
And let Quez play the Y.
So here's what I was gonna say.
Or the X.
I think we need a guy who can rotate, right? That's why I like Zacchaeus or somebody who can run all the routes because I think we need to be able to rotate this year. A great wrinkle for the Philadelphia Eagles would be Devontae Smith's not always the Y. A.J. Brown's not always the X. We move them around, create mismatches to get guys in situations where they can make great plays, right? So if you have a third wide receiver, that slot guy that also could run a majority of the routes and actually catch the ball, then that makes that easier to do because then you can have Devontae take the top off and you can have the other guys working in other sections of the field. So that's my thing is, we always talk about the Eagles talk a lot about versatility, guys that can play multiple positions on defense and offensive line and whatever. Let's incorporate that into the wide receiver room. And in order to do that, that slot guy has to be a guy that can play those other 2 positions. And I don't feel confident that Quez Watkins can do that.
Yeah. Just, I think I saw someone in the chat bring this up too. So I was talking about this guy earlier, Mekhi Gardner, and the reason why he's of note and in touch on this is some people are saying that he could steal a spot away from Zach McPherson and Greedy Williams, and he can transition to safety. So he fits with the Eagles' hybrid role because that's what he could play. So watch out for number 43 because people are talking really well about this guy. He's hungry, undrafted rookie. It's tough, but I'm just saying that's people were talking about Reed Blankenship. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, do people like Reed Blankenship? Am I reading the crowd wrong here? Is he a popular player? Like, I hear people talking about him. Like, is he? I don't really feel like he's that good. Am I missing something? Did I not see?
I mean,
he's okay.
I don't think he's that bad. I think that the point that I would really get into with Reed Blankenship is I think that Philadelphia Eagles can also use Greedy Williams in a safety like role, like they use
Right.
CJ Gardner Johnson. But it's all we all have to see. So I think the thing I most look forward to in this preseason game is the Sean Desai defense, the style, the way it's ran out there. Because that's the only unknown to me. I don't know how these players are going to be used. Like Jalen Carter has been absolutely dominating the second and third teams in practice. They still have him behind Fletcher Cox. And he's been destroying them. Yeah. I want to see what he does versus the second and third team of Baltimore.
Desai's a Vic Fangio disciple, correct?
That is correct.
I feel really good about that. I'm just going to say that. I feel really good about that.
Worse than last year. That guy who will remain nameless, you can't get much worse than him. So it should be an upgrade.
Well, Saturday night, all right. Saturday night, you get Eagles Ravens. I'll be tuned in. Can't wait to watch it. It'll be a fun football game to watch each Philadelphia Eagles player and see how they play out in the depth chart. I don't care how deep in the depth chart you get. It's football, and I love football, and I can't wait to watch it. Like, give me Devin Allen and Greg Ward. You know, I don't care. Give me Josh Sills. Like, I don't care. Throw them out on the field. I'm very interested to see how Grant Calcaterra looks or Dan Arnold. Does not matter to me. Show me some Boston Scott and Rashad Penny. I'm good with it. But I really want to see Keely Ringo, Sidney Brown, and Nolan Smith, the rookies that should be all playing a ton of snaps Saturday night. We don't have the longest show for you this week in Birds Deep. Is there anything else that you guys want to cover before we wrap up?
Well, I would like to say there is a rumor out there that Rashard Penny's jersey is made out of bubble wrap. I don't know how true that is. And that might be a good idea.
You always make me snicker. I appreciate that, Godfrey.
I mean, that dude should be wearing bubble wrap. I'm just saying, if I'm going over to career. So tons of talent.
If I'm being honest about those two guys, of course, Penny and Swift, I think they have a lot of talent, but again, injury bug. So I'm happy that we got both of them because, truthfully speaking, I think at least one of them are going to miss some games. So the other one will be able to be there, to kind of help pick up for that. Because guys don't a lot of times go from being guys that are kind of injury prone for multiple years to all of a sudden just being healthy. Like, they may be able to be healthier, right, if they're, working out right, got the right things going on, but you normally get banged up a little bit. So having Penny and Swift is good because if one gets hurt, you at least have another guy to go with Gainwell and Scott, and I think that's going to be the four. So I like the fact that we got that other piece of depth because I think that was actually needed just based on the guys that we brought in.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right about the guys' injuries and stuff like that, but there is a secret elixir for injuries, and that would be called contract year. It's a secret pill, and then all of a sudden, people start going like, "Man, I could play through injury," because there's a lot on the line. Now, that's not everybody, but sometimes you're like, one of the best examples is, and I thank him for it. Alshon Jeffrey playing through a separated shoulder the whole season. If you look at his career before that, he was hurt often, suspended, and that was the knock on him. He was like, I'm getting that money and I'm getting that Super Bowl. And again, as a fan, I thank him for toughing it out. Really do. But I'm just saying, that's, there's a little extra gear and a little bit of fire under the hiney hole, so to speak, when you're getting close to the contract being up.
We got a lot of those guys on the Philadelphia Eagles. We got a lot of guys in contract years. A lot of guys sign on very short-term contracts. DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny. You got a lot of them, right? So it should be interesting what ends up happening this year. The position that I'm looking at the most is the front seven. I really cannot wait to see how all those new faces get incorporated. I want to see Jordan Davis's jump from year 1 to year 2. I want to see Jalen Carter's dominance in the NFL. I want to see Nolan Smith. I want to see Fletcher Cox when he gets 50% snaps and not double teamed as much. I want to see a lot of that, right? I can't wait to watch how this front seven looks. And I really want to see Nakobe Dean running that defense. I really believe in him. You guys know what my feelings are on him. I can't wait to see him running the show.
I want QB1 to show everybody that he is the number 3 player in the top 100. Nah, I don't really care about that. But I do want him to go out and just improve, right? There's still things he can work on. And I just want him to continue to do what he's doing and get better every year, because if he does that, then we don't have that position as a position of weakness. If he's evolving as a quarterback, if he's learning how to be a better passer, how to read just a little bit quicker, how to fake the run a little bit, maybe just roll out, then throw, right? Look for open people and be able to read the defense better. Because these are things you can always improve on, right? No matter how long you've been a quarterback in the NFL. So
You're
if
right.
we can continue to improve on these things, man, we got a guy that can be possibly our best QB in at least the last 30, 40 years, probably ever on the team, if we could just get him to continue to do what I think he does, because I love his work ethic. I love the mind on this guy, right? This is a guy that has an all-female, team, right? This is a guy, same girlfriend, not running around, not wilding out, doing those things, focused on playing football mind from a kid, dad's a coach. So there's a lot of positives, just not as a football player, but as a man, as a person, that Jalen Hurts brings as well. I wasn't sold on him when we drafted him. I wasn't upset, because that was the same draft that we drafted Jalen Reagor, and I couldn't even get back into focus until like round 4 because I was so pissed off. But when I found out we drafted him, I wasn't upset, because I did say something. I've got the receipts, so if anybody wants the receipts, I can pull it and send it to you. I said Jalen Hurts will possibly be the best quarterback in this draft. And people laughed at me, told me I was an idiot, that he wasn't even going to be a starter or anything. I don't look so dumb now.
Think
Right?
about, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cole.
Oh, no, you good.
Thing about Jalen Hurts is, as being an Eagles fan, going into a quarterback situation, even when 5 was quarterback, and I was a big 5 fan, I was a big Randall fan growing up, I am extremely confident in Jalen Hurts. And the reason is because last year, it was the question of, in preseason, can he up his ability? Can he up his game? And I have no questions after last year. Me and Gene used to say, if we could combine Kyler Murray or some other guy in his work ethic, I have almost the perfect quarterback. So the guy's skill set went up, and he still got the same work ethic, man. I am so confident in that kid. It's not even funny. I have no worries. I don't care what anybody says. You can't sit here and tell me, like, he can't at least play up to a Josh Allen level. Josh Allen's regressed. If you're really looking at it over year, he's regressed a little bit, right? And maybe that's because Brian Dable's in New York. I don't know. Ken Dorsey doesn't hit him the same way, whatever it must be. But my point is he has shown the ability over a full season. And the thing about him is he has shown the ability to adjust his game, which the former quarterback we thought was the chosen one showed the ability not to adjust his game. So I have more faith in the coachability and the learning skills of Jalen Hurts than most quarterbacks that I've seen in general. Like, McNabb had some flaws to him, right? Like he could throw you a deep ball, man, but like a short ball, man, that was rough for him sometimes. He worm burn it right the hell over the ground. And you're like, what's going on here? Like, this guy knows how to play quarterback, but just some guys, they got an Achilles heel. I just feel like Jalen, and the sky's the limit for this guy, man. I just think he's hungry and he's learning, and I just don't get that feeling from him that this guy has that feeling of I made it satisfied. I don't see that look in him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm waxing poetic as an Eagles fan, but I'm very confident in him as a football player.
Bro, speaking of former quarterback, did you see that picture of Carson Wentz that emerged when he was wearing the Eagles helmet, the Commander's shirt, and the Colts shorts?
Oh, boy.
I did.
That is, and I thought it was photoshopped. I'm like, this has got to be fake. Turned out it's real.
Really?
Yes, real photo.
Yep.
That guy isn't on a team right now. I'm surprised. I mean, I know he's not a starter, but I mean, he's definitely get a backup job at
I
least.
think he's waiting to see if a quarterback goes down in preseason. But in today's modern day NFL, a lot of that doesn't happen.
Nah. Yeah, Yeah, definitely not.
But we'll be back every week, Birds Deep. We're gonna wrap up the show here. We gotta listen. If you're tuning in, tune in for the next show. We got another show coming at 7:00. Myself and Godfrey. We got a special guest on the show tonight, Tim from Roto Baller. It's gonna be a fun show. Talk about the whole NFL. It's called Sideline to Sideline. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Get your break. Go get a coffee. Have some fun, and we'll be back. Come back at 7:00. Cool. Any final thoughts, my friend?
Hey, man, the only thing I'll say is on Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m., make sure you come check me out, talking more Philadelphia Eagles, because I love this team. YouTube.com/@EaglesElitePodcast. We interactive, so we like when you guys come in. We have our own stuff set up that we want to talk about. But if you want to talk about something different, we roll with it. So come check us out.
Check them out, Eagles Elite. Godfrey, any final thoughts on Birds Deep?
That's it, man. See us next week. Catch us on the next show. New name, same people. Well, not really, but new stuff. You'll see. Tune in.
All right. See you guys in just 14 minutes if you're checking out. If not, if you're with Birds Deep, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in.